Your very state of being is as a result of sin, the original sin. The strongest instinct in every living thing is self-preservation, which brings us to the last of the 7 deadly sins, anger. Is it not our instinct for self-preservation that is aroused when someone harms us, when we become angry enough to protect ourselves from further attack? A satanist practices the motto, if a man smite thee on one cheek, smash him on the other. Let no wrong go unredressed. Be as a lion in the path, be dangerous even in defeat. Since man's natural instincts lead him to sin, all men are sinners, and all sinners go to hell. If everyone goes to hell, then you will meet all your friends there. Heaven must be populated with some rather strange creatures if they all lived for us to go to a place where they can strum harps for eternity.
Okay, first let's find out what the words greed, pride, sloth, gluttony, lust, envy, and anger actually mean. These definitions come from thefreedictionary.com. Yes, I am cheap. Greed an excessive desire to acquire or possess more than what one needs or deserves, especially with respect to material wealth. Pride in 1. A sense of one's own proper dignity or value, self-respect. 2. Pleasure or satisfaction taken in an achievement, possession, or association. Parental pride. 3. Arrogant or disdainful conduct or treatment, haughtiness. 4. A cause or source of pleasure or satisfaction, the best of a group or class. These soldiers were their country's pride. B. The most successful or thriving condition, prime, the pride of youth. 5. An excessively high opinion of oneself, conceit. Sloth, noun, aversion to work or exertion, laziness, indolence. Gluttony, and the act or practice of eating to excess. Lust n. 1. Intense or unrestrained sexual craving. 2. An overwhelming desire or craving, a lust for power. B. Intense eagerness or enthusiasm, a lust for life. 3. Obsolete pleasure, relish. In the n. place. 1. A feeling of discontent and resentment aroused by and in conjunction with desire for the possessions or qualities of another. B. The object of such feeling, their new pool, made them the envy of their neighbors. 2. Obsolete malevolence. Anger n. A strong feeling of displeasure or hostility. Anger by itself is not a sin. Matthew 5:22. But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment, and whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council, but whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Anger without a cause is a sin. The 7 deadly sins are not listed in the Bible. They do not predate the 10 Commandments. They do appear throughout the Bible individually. The 7 deadly sins are really attitudes that underlie sins, whether mortal or venial, first identified by St. John Cassian 360, 435, and refined by Pope St. Gregory the Great 540, 604. They provide keys to understanding our faults and the actions that result. Pope Gregory also listed the 7 virtues: faith, hope, charity, justice, prudence, temperance, and fortitude. The scripture would validate all of these concepts, but nowhere are they recorded in a list like this, and nowhere in the Bible are they specifically referred to as the 7 deadly sins or 7 virtues. Deadly sin opposing virtue. Brief description: pride, humility, seeing ourselves as we are and not comparing ourselves to others, is humility. Pride and vanity are competitive. If someone else's pride really bothers you, you have a lot of pride. Avarice/greed. Generosity. This is about more than money. Generosity means letting others get the credit or praise. It is giving without having expectations of the other person. Greed wants to get its fair share, or a bit more. Envy love. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love actively seeks the good of others for their sake. Envy resents the good others receive or even might receive. Envy is almost indistinguishable from pride at times. Wrath/anger. Kindness. Kindness means taking a tender approach, with patience and compassion. Anger is often our first reaction to the problems of others. Impatience with the faults of others is related to this. Lust. Self-control. Self-control and self-mastery prevent pleasure from killing the soul by suffocation. Legitimate pleasures are controlled in the same way an athlete's muscles are for maximum efficiency without damage. Lust is the self-destructive drive for pleasure out of proportion to its worth. Sex, power, or image can be used well, but they tend to go out of control. Gluttony. Faith and temperance. Temperance accepts the natural limits of pleasures and preserves this natural balance. This does not pertain only to food, but to entertainment and other legitimate goods, and even the company of others. Sloth. Zeal. Zeal is the energetic response of the heart to God's commands. The other sins work together to deaden the spiritual senses, so we first become slow to respond to God and then drift completely into the sleep of complacency. Sources: thewhitestonejournal.com and biblinfo.com.
Times have changed. Religious leaders no longer preach that all our natural actions are sinful. We no longer think sex is dirty or that taking pride in ourselves is shameful or that wanting something someone else has is vicious. Of course not. Times have changed. If you want proof of this, just look at how liberal churches have become. Why? They're practicing all the things that you preach.
Bible does not teach that sex is dirty. It just says get married. Because if you did not, then you have children all over the place with no fathers. And fathers having children all over the place. Women not being able to take care of their children and throwing them out onto the street. Some selling them into slavery. Or even killing them. That's the point of marriage and not cheating. Where does it say married couples cannot have sex? It does say that to lust after another woman is cheating.
It is a popular misconception that the satanist does not believe in God. The concept of God, as interpreted by man, has been so varied throughout the ages, that the satanist simply accepts the definition which suits him best. Man has always created his gods, rather than his gods creating him. God is, to some, benign, to others, terrifying. To the satanist, God, by whatever name he is called, or by no name at all, is seen as the balancing factor in nature, and not as being concerned with suffering. This powerful force which permeates and balances the universe is far too impersonal to care about the happiness or misery of flesh and blood creatures on this ball of dirt upon which we live. Anyone who thinks of Satan as evil should consider all the men, women, children, and animals who had died because it was God's will. Certainly a person grieving the untimely loss of a loved one should much rather have their loved one with them than in God's hands. Instead, they are anxiously consoled by their clergyman who says, "It was God's will, my dear," or "He is in God's hands now, my son." Such phrases have been a convenient way for religionists to condone or excuse the mercilessness of God. But if God is in complete control and as benign as he is supposed to be, why does he allow these things to happen? Too long have religionists been falling back on their Bibles and rule books to prove or disprove, justify, condemn, or interpret.
So, the Satanist believes in God. I will try to explain from a biblical point of view why people die.